Is there anything positive to take away from this game? I got to be honest with you guys. Yesterday, Sunday, I normally wake up and I'll fire off 5 or 6 or 7 tweets or posts or what have you of my thoughts, my immediate reactions to the game that was once I've had 24 or so hours to sit down and decompress and think about what happened. I had nothing. I truly had nothing after a just thorough beat down at the hands of Mizzou and CoMo. And you have to start, guys, with this. Like, it's time for a lot of Gamecock Nation, right? Because over the summer, when we talked about this game, we talked about Missouri, there was a lot of commentary from Gamecock fans out there that, Chris, Missouri's not a better program than us. It doesn't matter. They've won 4 in a row. They're not better than us. They don't recruit better. They're in Columbia, Missouri. Like, they shouldn't be in the SEC. There was this feeling from a large portion of Gamecock Nation that for some reason Missouri football was below South Carolina football. And so it's time for many people to come to grips with the fact that's not the case. It's time to admit that, guys, until further notice on the field, Missouri is a better football program than South Carolina. And Eli Drinkwitz owns Gamecocks football. Like, it wasn't even debatable when we did our position unit comparisons, right? Comparing everything from every position group on the field to coaching as well. When I gave the coaching nod to Missouri, that one was not even debatable, and you saw it yet again. And isn't it baffling? Isn't it baffling that every single year that South Carolina and Missouri meet on the gridiron, every single year, Missouri's coaching staff runs circles around Shane Beamer and his group of coaches every single year. And so when we say that Carolina got whipped in every facet of the game, that includes coaching. Offense, defense, special teams, and yes, coaching. Toughness, you want to add that one in there? And it begs the question, guys, like, why can this team not play well on the road? It's that age-old question we've had with Gamecocks football. And let's be fair, by the way. Let's be fair, because we're going to talk about this a lot, about the road struggles and home and road splits and what have you. South Carolina's road schedule, including neutral games, it's been tough, right? North Carolina, Georgia in Athens, Missouri. It's been tough sledding away from Williams-Brice Stadium, right? You got Texas A&M upcoming. Tennessee, obviously, on the road at night. That was the one I was somehow forgetting. You've played some really, really tough competition. But it's one thing to lose. It's one thing to go on the road in the SEC and lose a football game. No shame in doing so. It's really hard to win on the road. We know that. But how it's happened. Guys, outside of one half against Georgia, think about this. Think about this. Take a moment and think about this. Outside of one half against the Georgia Bulldogs, outside of 30 minutes of play on the road this season, you have looked abysmal the rest of the time. Start to finish against UNC made you want to vomit. Second half of Georgia dominated across the board. Tennessee, start to finish, dominated. And then this game against Missouri, start to finish, pure domination. Game was over before it even started practically. I mean, guys, that game 24-0 at one point. A lot of folks want to point to the second half. Well, look at the comeback, like the field goals, and Carolina's defense made adjustments. Mizzou put that game in cruise control, man. Mizzou put that game in cruise control and never looked back. And what's sad about it, guys, what's sad about it is Mizzou put it in cruise control, and South Carolina could do nothing with it. Missouri did everything they could in the second half to let South Carolina back in the football game, and the Gamecocks couldn't take advantage. When it was right there for the taking, couldn't take advantage of it. A better program, a better team with better coaches whoop your ass. There's no other way around it. That's the fact of the matter. That's the reality in the middle of year 3 of Shane Beamer. Missouri is a better program than South Carolina. And you look at specific things on the field of play. You start offensively, guys. The offensive line. The offensive line. My, oh my, the offensive line. You know, it was a game in which you knew Missouri defensively was really salty. They had been good this year. Not great, but good. Every single game, it seemed they had progressively gotten better, but it looked like there was some opportunity, right? The Gamecocks offense has been so Jekyll and Hyde this season, especially between home and road, right? Again, the splits are worrisome to say the least. But every time South Carolina's got an opportunity to do something, every time there's a drive going, every time South Carolina comes into a game and feels like they have a chance, the offensive line finds a way to blow it. 6 more sacks in this football game. This begs the question, guys, and I'm being serious asking this. Is this the worst offensive line in South Carolina football history? Maybe the 1999 offensive line was worse, the one that practically got Phil Petty destroyed all season long. But this is one of the worst offensive lines in school history, if not the worst. I mean, it is just on a weekly basis a free-for-all. And when you are blocking or not blocking, the way that South Carolina was in that football game on Saturday, guys, you just simply don't stand a chance, man. You simply don't stand a chance. Then you look at the injuries, and the injuries are mounting up, and it's one guy after another after another. Shane Beamer saying in his teleconference yesterday that, guys, if the injury report doesn't change with the offensive line, they're not going to have a backup offensive line in practice this week. That's how bad it's gotten. But, I mean, you look at the rushing attack, South Carolina 29 for 69. Mario Anderson actually 12 for 68. A lot of that coming in the second half. That's 69 yards rushing, of course, adjusted with sacks, negative 15 yards for Spencer Rattler because of sacks. The Gamecocks ran the football, hey, right at their average, 2.4 yards per carry. And because of the offensive line's performance, Spencer Rattler, his numbers suffer. Very pedestrian. You look at his numbers, guys, 23 of 40, 217 yards, no touchdowns, a pick. And this brings me to, guys, what I was talking about before, the home and road splits. And these numbers, by the way, these stats, courteous of our friend Brad Crawford of 24/7 Sports, does a great job, obviously. He posted this on Sunday afternoon. The home and road splits, they are disturbing, guys. The good news to the Gamecocks is this. This upcoming weekend, it's your last road game of the year. Thank the Lord. Because Spencer Rattler splits, they're unreal. At home, he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. In 3 home games, 315.3 yards per game, an 85% completion percentage, 10 touchdowns to just 1 interception, and only sacked 6 times in those 3 games. Now, granted, your home competition has been Furman, Mississippi State, and Florida. Now, in the road contests this season, this includes a North Carolina game, a game away from Willie B, road and or neutral games, road and neutral games. 4 games South Carolina has played away from Williams-Brice Stadium. In those 4 games, Spencer Rattler's averaging 248.7 yards per game, 63.4% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, 4 picks, and he's been sacked a grand total of 24 times. 24 times, guys. I mean, that's laughable. That's insane. Road Rattler. And I don't know what changes, guys. I know the competition has been stiffer on the road, but I mean, Missouri's a really good football team. Don't get it twisted. But I mean, it's just those numbers are disturbing. Those numbers are disturbing, to say the least. Especially when you factor in that South Carolina has another road contest upcoming this weekend. Now, I asked the question at the top of the show, the top of the segment, are there any positives to take away? There is a positive, believe it or not. There's a positive that came from this game on Saturday. And that is Nicholas Harbor. Isn't it funny how every time Nicholas Harbor's got an opportunity this season, he's made big plays? Now, I understand, guys. You go back and watch the film, go watch this game. There are a lot of times where Nicholas Harbor, he don't even know where to line up, right? He doesn't know what he's doing, okay? And that I understand. I understand why Nicholas Harbor isn't getting more playing time when he doesn't even know where to line up on the field. I get that. But if Xavier Legette's injury from Saturday, if it lingers, God forbid, he's got to miss a week or 2 weeks or an extended period of time, Nicholas Harbor, guys, has got to become a bigger part of the offense. Because even if the kid doesn't know what he's doing, you watch the game and you see Nicholas Harbor on the field, and it's like, who can cover him? This dude is not human. I mean, this dude, he stands out amongst the rest. It's a man playing against children. And again, he's got to learn the fundamentals. He's got to learn the basics. He has to be able to grasp those things. I mean, from as simple as where to line up, right? He's struggling with that right now, as we've seen. But if you lose Xavier Legette and you're looking around saying, okay, who are our top options at wide receiver? This coaching staff's got to find a way to get Nick Harbor ready to go. They've got to find a way to get him more involved. Because the responsibility of the coaches is put your best 11 on the field. Put your 11 best. And at the wide receiver position, put your 3 or 4, however many best options on the field. You cannot convince me that if Xavier Legette goes down, Nick Harbor's not one of those guys. And he's too talented, too skilled, too physically gifted not to utilize him. Now, switching sides, guys. The defensive side. I mean, if it's not one thing, it's another for the South Carolina defense. And to watch the Gamecocks just get manhandled, physically manhandled. That's why Missouri throttled you the way they did, guys, right? We can talk about the quarterback battle and this guy, that guy, but Missouri dominated you in the trenches. They physically whipped you. In a game in which we came into it concerned about the secondary, right? Brady Cook's going to have a career day. Luther Burden's going to go for 200. They hit some deep shots early, no doubt, right? Luther Burden with that big touchdown catch. He had 4 for 90 for a TD. But, I mean, Brady Cook only threw for 198 yards. 14 to 24, 198, a touchdown, no picks. He was good for them, but he wasn't great. But if it's not one thing, it's another thing. Cody Schrader, a career high in rushing. 26 for 159. 2 touchdowns on the day. How about Brady Cook, 9 for 64, a touchdown to his credit. Missouri ran for 41 carries, 220 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns, guys. They averaged 5.4 yards per carry. So let me get this straight. You can't stop the pass. You can't stop the run. You're fragile. You're weak. You get dominated. You're not physically imposing. What chance does South Carolina have, guys? Like, what chance? I know many folks are looking at the last 4 games all at home. Gamecocks are going to win all 4, go bowling. What chance do the Gamecocks have at doing that with this defense? A defense that, when it sells out to stop the pass, it can't stop the run. When it sells out to stop the run, it can't stop the pass. I mean, what chance do you have, man? And we just saw another head coach in Sam Pittman. Credit Sam Pittman, by the way, for having the stones, having the kahunas to look at his football team, look at his coordinators, look at his coaches, and say, I identify this coordinator as a deficiency. I am cutting him out of our football team, cutting him out of the football program. He's got a buyout. Who gives a damn? His buyout's a lot cheaper than mine. Let me go ahead and cut this off while I have the chance. Bravo to Sam Pittman. Bravo. I just wish Shane Beamer would follow suit. I wish Shane Beamer would say, you know what? We got a shot to salvage this season and go to a bowl game, but we sure as shit ain't going to do it with this defense. We sure as hell ain't going to do it with Clayton White calling the shots. All we're going to do is get more of the same. I applaud Sam Pittman. Is Shane Beamer willing to change anything? Make an adjustment? And don't give me the, well, Chris, the defense made adjustments and played a lot better in the second half. Bro, it was 24-3. The game was over. Missouri put that thing in cruise control and said, all right, Carolina, go ahead. Best of luck. They put that thing in cruise control, man. That ball game was over at halftime. If it's not one thing, it's another. If it's not one thing, it's another for South Carolina. Guys, a bit of an odd decision, I thought, on Saturday, looking back, and maybe hindsight's 2020, but the, 4 field goals, getting down in the red zone. I believe you got in the red zone 4 separate occasions, kicked 3 field goals. I understand, I guess, end of game. You're trying to make that from an 18-point game to a 15-point game, a 2-score game. But, looking back, you think about it. South Carolina held without a touchdown. Without a touchdown. In CoMo. For a coach in Shane Beamer and this coaching staff that pride themselves on being aggressive and forcing the issue, I was somewhat surprised to see South Carolina settle for so many field goals. Again, I'm a little bit nitpicking here, but, I just, maybe it's a learning experience. I just think it's interesting that Shane Beamer against Tennessee was more than happy to not kick the field goal. Told the reporters on SEC Network, hey, we're not going to beat these guys kicking field goals. And then in a scenario in which you're down big at Mizzou, you need touchdowns to remotely even get back into the football game. You settle for field goals. That just surprised me. And so, guys, that leaves us to where we are today. And now that the dust is settled and watching that game Saturday, guys, watching that game, as much as I hate to say it, and I hate to say it, but unfortunately this season, it's getting a very must-champish vibe to it. And it makes me sick. It makes me sick to utter those words. But a football team who is falling flat on the road, especially out of the gate, getting blasted, not even standing a chance, injuries mounting, losses piling up, and a fan base that, will never not be excited for game day when the Gamecocks play because you only get so many of them, right? But it's this hollow feeling. It's this empty feeling of being excited for game day while also bracing yourself for the worst. It's like you're excited for game day, but not because of the prospects of winning. You're just excited because, well, we get to watch the Garnet and Black run out on the field again. It's that feeling that I had towards the end of the Will Muschamp era, where it's just like, yay, it's game day. Hopefully we don't get killed today. And that's just a sad place to be, man. It's a sad place to be. It's a really sad state of affairs. It's an unfortunate position that South Carolina football is in, just purely flat out dominated across the board. In case you're wondering, guys, tomorrow, to kick off tomorrow's show, or during tomorrow's show, we're going to have a dedicated segment to addressing the state of affairs in year 3 of the Shane Beamer era at this point. Because I'll just say briefly, I'm still behind Shane Beamer 110%. I still believe that Shane Beamer can be the guy at South Carolina. I really do. But to turn a blind eye and to say that there are a number of troubling things that stand out right now in year 3 of the Shane Beamer era is incorrect. There's a lot to be concerned about. And the product that we just witnessed in Columbia, Missouri, it falls at the feet of Shane Beamer. We can talk about Clayton White, guys. We can complain about Dowell Loggins. We can talk about Monterio Hardesty and Tori. Nothing happens in the South Carolina football program without Shane Beamer's first sign-off. Nothing. Nothing happens. Nothing takes place without first the sign-off of Shane Beamer. And so when you factor that in, this is Shane Beamer's football program. And as I've said before, I'm behind him 110%. But year three of Shane Beamer's tenure, it's hard to, even if the Gamecocks reel off a couple of wins to close out the season, it's hard to view it as anything other than a colossal failure, especially after a 5th straight loss to the Missouri Tigers and a pure butt-whooping at the hands of Eli Drinkwitz in Columbia, Missouri.